Welcome to the Fractured Families Podcast. I'm Charity, your dedicated parental alienation coach, here to guide and support families as they navigate the challenges of high conflict divorces and custody battles. On this podcast, we'll share insights, practical strategies, and hope for those on the journey toward healing and justice. Whether you're personally experiencing these challenges or just want to learn more about the complexities of parental alienation and custody disputes, you're in the right place. You are not alone. This is the Fractured Families Podcast, where every voice matters and every story is heard. And if you find my conversation helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us reach more families who need it. Hi, I'm Charity, your host with the Fractured Families Podcast. I have with me today Eileen Murphy, who is the mother of an alienated father who's been on my show before, Adam Murphy. And Eileen's going to talk us through what it's like to be alienated as a grandparent and what that has been like. She is a grandparent of 23 grandchildren with one on the way. So Eileen, thank you for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Let's get started with your role as a grandparent. What's that like?
Well, love being a grandmother. My husband is really good with the kids too. He does all the exciting stuff. I do the safety stuff, but they're all great. Most of our grandkids live locally around here. We have two that are out of state, so we don't see them as often, but they do come for main events, and we're together a lot.
So you've been a very active role in your grandchildren's life, and for the most part, aside from Adam's kids, you have a relationship with all your grandkids.
All of them, yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about, you mentioned a little bit how he met her. What were your thoughts when they first connected, and did you have any concerns? What did you see?
Well, not initially. I didn't. They met because they both had children in the Great Start program, pre-kindergarten at the school. And Adam had a little gathering at our house and invited the people, the parents and the kids of that group, to our home for an outdoor, I think it was Halloween or something, party. And they started talking. Well, then her car broke down, so he offered to pick her up because they lived not very far from where we live, and he would pick her up and take her to drop the kids off at school and then to pick them up at the end and take them home. And that's kind of how they started to get to know each other. And then my son moved into a house that my other son had up in Flint, Michigan, and he was renting that from him with his two children that he had, older children that from a previous marriage. And so they lived there, and her mom kicked her out of the house is what was said. And so he invited her and her daughter to live in the basement of that house while they didn't have a place to live. But my son was always had a heart for the down and outers. He'd bring home stray people, stray animals. He just had a heart for that. So anyways, they ended up getting together, got married, and then the Flint water crisis happened, which really put a wrench in everybody's life at that time that was affected by that. He struggled with a lot of health problems from that. He couldn't work anymore. He was a journeyman millwright. He had a specialized in welding, worked all over the country, but he got tremors so bad he couldn't weld. He lost his job. He moved back into our home because his home, he felt, was dangerous because she was giving him double doses of medication that was causing him to be knocked out for hours and hours and hours. And when he went to the doctors and they told him, "Why is this so high? What are you taking?" Well, he said she's giving him double dose of that. He said, he asked him if he prescribed that, and he said, "No, I would never do that." So he left with his two older boys and came to our home and lived here for quite a while and tried to get through that mess. But then when he filed for divorce, that's really when the alienation started. She just went crazy, and she raised her 4-year-old daughter to the hospital for a rape exam saying that he had molested her and put her through that horrible. She just had to have something that sounded really. So CPS showed up at our house. They went to the school, interviewed everybody, and they found no evidence of anything. But yet she just never got reprimanded for it or anything. She just came up with another one, which was, a belt mark on her son's bottom, which I know you already heard that one, but so she would just come up with things that she would make up to try to make it be as bad as possible so that he got no time with the
Hmm.
children, which meant we didn't get time with them either.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So prior to him and her separating, what was your relationship like with your grandchildren from them? And then how about her daughter as well? What was that like?
Well, we included her daughter in all of our functions. We would used to do grand camp when they were little, and all the kids would come and we'd plan activities. And we live on, a few acres, and we have a pond and a pool and a lot of stuff to do with the kids. So
Yeah.
we had a great time, and it was awesome. But once that happened, then there was no contact. And that's when she started to make it where there was, he was trying to get time with them, but she calls all the shots. She tells him what he can have and what he can't have. And, like, for an example, she told him that she was going to not count his driving days as the days. She would give him 7 days with the kids, and she wouldn't count the driving days because before he would only really get 5. So
Right.
this time it was Christmas time, and she said she wouldn't count those days, but she really did it to say, well, I didn't count those days. So I took Christmas and Christmas Eve that he was supposed to get. She took that and said, well, you still got your 10 days. So because she didn't count the end days, the
Oh.
driving days from West Virginia to Michigan. So he got robbed. We got robbed of that. They didn't get to be here with their cousins. And we had a Christmas brunch, and they just missed out. And she just said, they're opening gifts. We got lots of gifts. You got your 10 days. So he lost that, and we lost that.
So obviously, the kids being separated from him and ultimately from you, how has that affected your relationship with her? Like, do you still have a relationship with her at all? Or does she completely end
I
that
do
with you?
not have a relationship with her, and I do not want one. I just I can't go there. It's very stressful. But I don't know. It's just sad because Christmas Day, as soon as they walked in the door this past Christmas, his daughter pointed at me and said, "I need to talk to you."
How
And
how
I
old is she?
she's 13. She just
Okay.
turned 13 in June.
Okay.
And so she opened up and just said, I want a relationship with my dad. I need both of my parents, which I thought was very mature.
Right.
And she said, but, I my mom won't let me have a relationship with him. She told her that he was a very bad man. And so when she told her dad that, she said, I don't think you're a bad man. And he said, why do you think that I'm not a bad man? And she said, because you're kind and you take care of us and you listen to us. You let us say what we want to say, and you don't get mad
Mm.
when we say it. Because
Right.
at home, if she says she wants extra time with her dad, she gets grounded for a month, or she's going to take her rabbit away that she got her for her birthday and give it to someone else because she just threatens her all the time. She said, I don't have a voice at home. I can't say anything. She wants out of there. I don't know how to help her
Yeah.
because I have no control over anything. So it's very, very painful and difficult. to see her go through that. And I don't know why somebody doesn't do something in behalf of the kids to
Mhm.
protect them, but I just don't understand the system, I guess.
So, after that Christmas visit, how was that when she left? Like, how did it impact you? How did it impact her? Was there anything about that that you want to talk about?
Well, she just said she wished that she could spend more time with her dad and her
Mhm.
brothers, but we don't have control over that. And I just told her, I'm so sorry, Lily. We're trying to
Mhm.
figure out how we can make that happen. And your dad is working really hard to try to get somebody to help him with that. It's just difficult. But we did get to have her for one overnight uh, around her birthday because we started doing birthdays with individuals instead of a group thing because we
Yeah.
don't get much one-on-one time with any of our grandkids. So we started
Cool.
making it. We're going to take them out, spend some time with them for their birthday gift instead of buying them something. But so we did get that, and she got to spend the night and went swimming and did bumper boats with her grandpa in the pond and just had a blast. So it was
Mhm.
nice, but it was hard when you have to take her back and you
Yeah.
know what she's going to face, because if she doesn't say what her mom wants her to say, which most of the time, and mostly she manipulates the younger one
Yeah.
because he will do he'll flip when he goes home. For example, when my son took him home after Christmas time, as soon as he pulled in the driveway, my grandson rolled down the window and he goes, "Ew, get me out of here. I want my mommy."
Yeah.
And, that thing. But he was so happy when he was here. And even this time when I was talking to my son on the phone and my grandson heard me. He goes, "Grandma, guess what? I caught a duck and I got to hold the duck." He was so happy. But at his house in Michigan, he says, "Don't ask me that. You can't ask me those things." He's just, it's just awful. It's
Yeah.
criminal, I think.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I don't know where to go to get help for that. I mean, they do have counselors, and my son talked to him, and I encouraged her to open up to her counselor because that's what
Mhm.
she's there for. And I said, she'll help you with that. And so she said, "But what if my mom finds out? Then I'll be in trouble." And I said, "Well, you can just say to her, I need to talk to you about something very important, but I don't want my mom to know because she'll be mad and I'll get in
Mhm.
trouble." And I think they'll know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm praying they do.
Well, unfortunately, Eileen, as you see through Adam, is that there's not a lot of knowledge about parental alienation. People truly don't understand the counterintuitiveness of it. They think that because at one point there was false allegations against your son, that even though it was unfounded, from a professional's perspective, that it's always in the back of their mind. And because they're not educated enough and well versed enough to truly decipher false allegations in a child versus true allegations, they always are going to err on the side of caution. And it's unfortunate because they're not educated on this, because there's so many groups out there that don't believe parental alienation exists. They believe it's a pseudoscience. They say it's not real, and only abusive fathers make claims because they want to cover their behavior. So it's unfortunate for true families who are going through this, that are victims of this, because the courts will always err on the side of caution for the most part, which is why it's called the silver bullet, right? It's called
Mm-mm.
the silver bullet because you know that even if it's unfounded, that doubt always remains.
So how do the kids get help?
Sadly, until they're separated from that household, they don't get help. Because what happens is, and Lily's got a point, and unfortunately, her mom has instilled that fear into her. She's not even safe in her own home.
He isn't.
If you were to go to a counselor as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and say, "I'm afraid to be with my mom," they may investigate it. But of course, she's going to, if she finds out she's going to come back and say, he's manipulating her to say that, and here's what happened to my daughter, and it was unfounded, but this is the kind of parent that he is. And so everything she confided in gets erased because of what the allegations were in the past. In some cases, it's truly investigated and change happens. But to answer your question, until the children are in an environment where the professional truly understands parental alienation, they don't get the help they need. And even if they are getting help, the alienating parent gets in the way of successful intervention because they don't want the truth to be known. So they continue to manipulate that child with lies, and then the child's just regurgitating what the alienating parent is telling them to say.
Yeah, that's what's happening with my grandson. He'll say what he needs to say because she threatens him if he doesn't, then he won't get what he wants.
Research proves that the only way to stop this behavior is to remove the children from the alienator's home. But that's not something that happens easily or if ever happens, because the person who's doing this, they use so many manipulation tactics to prevent that from happening that a lot of parents fight until their children are 16, 17, 18 and still walk away with no parenting time.
Well, so you're basically saying that, when she's 18, she can make her own decision on where she wants to live because she's an adult, or is it 21? I
It's
hope it's
18.
18.
I mean, when they're 18, if they're not brainwashed by the alienating parent, a lot of times they'll want to rebuild that relationship. But also in certain cities and states, depending on the jurisdiction, if you're in litigation, some courts will listen to the voice of the child, but there's a lot of debate about that as well, because think about Declan. He's going to say everything his mom wants him to say, whereas
Mhm.
Lily's going to say something completely opposite. So, from a legal perspective, they're divided. Who do I believe? And they don't spend enough time, they don't have the time to really dig into that. And if you get a guardian ad litem involved, they become manipulated by that parent as well. And so you can see how it becomes so chaotic and it becomes so confusing that ultimately they just say, we're going to do what's best, in our opinion, for the child. If there were any truth to these allegations, we can't dare put the child with the father. And so that's what we decide, and we wash our hands of it.
So basically, you're saying there's not anything you can do about it. The kids have to suffer until they're old enough to make their own decisions. She is 13 years old and cannot read, not one word. She's not
Mhm.
educated because
Yeah,
her mother doesn't want her educated.
of
She
course.
doesn't want her to think for herself
Right.
or to have a voice.
Yep.
She wants total control of them, all of her children,
Of course.
and it's criminal in my opinion. But if they aren't going to do anything about it, then it's the children that suffer.
This is
And
true.
how do you protect your grandchildren in that situation?
So to respond to your comment about there's nothing you can do, there's plenty you can do. You can hire legal counsel, you can hire professionals, you can hire specialists, but you're all at the mercy of the courts. And if you're in front of a court system that doesn't believe in parental alienation and doesn't believe that it's happening, then you spend countless dollars fighting. And in some cases, you find success. In many cases, there's success, but in most, there's not. So it's not that you can't do something. It's just that for parents that really do fight, if you have the funds, right? So that's the other piece is who can afford that? Who can afford to
Exactly.
continue to fight? So if you have the funds and when you do fight, you do all the things you should do. But even then, at the end of the day, you're at the mercy of the court's decision. And let's just say that Adam went to court and he was fortunate enough for them to see the truth and he gets custody. If she were to not give the kids back, that's a whole nother court case because what will happen is usually if the alienating parent loses custody, they just don't bring the kids back. They just say, well, okay, well, the court said it, but it's a piece of paper. What are you going to do? Take me to jail? And in some cases they do, but in a lot of cases they'll say, well, we'll have to start over and see what happens. So every situation is different. To answer your question about as a grandparent, when you have time with them, to what Lily said is listen to her, encourage her, give her solutions, try to be as present as possible when she's there. Don't talk badly about the other parent because then you're just part of the problem and not part of the solution, as hard as it is.
Yeah, well, we totally don't do that
Of course,
because
yeah,
of that reason. We don't wanna make it more difficult for
right,
her. And she was very open when she talks to us. She talked to
yeah,
my older daughter, Adam's oldest sibling, and talked to her about it too. So she's not afraid to talk where she feels safe. And she's
mhm,
very verbal about it. But as soon as she's out of that safe zone, her voice is gone
of course.
and she has no voice.
Because there's consequences to her speaking her opinions, there's consequences to her telling the truth, and to your point, the reason that she wants her daughter so dependent is so that she can never at 18 say, "I'm leaving you now," because what at 18, she's not gonna be equipped to do that because her mother has made her so dependent on her that she has to stay, and that's what she wants.
That's sad.
So sad.
Yeah.
So let's talk about being a mom of a parent who's been going through this. What is that like supporting Adam through this and supporting the two older grandkids?
Well, I tell him that I pray a lot because there's just things that we don't have control over, but to keep his head up and keep fighting for his kids. He said, I will never give up. I don't care what she does. I'm never going to give up. And so I support that and encourage that. And I will till as long as I can. And I pray that something happens that changes the way people look at this topic because it's so important what you're doing and getting the word out there so that people know this is a real thing and it's so harmful to the children. I'm just praying that they can recover from it, that it doesn't ruin them for life.
So, one thing that's really helpful during this abuse is to have the relationship you have with Lily, to know that it's okay to love both parents.
Yes, and
It's
for her to
okay.
say that at 13, say I
Yes.
need both my parents, but
Yes.
I don't want my mom to be mad at me
Mhm.
because I wanna have time with my dad because I really need that too, and I'm happy that I told her she's brave to be able to say that, and it's
Mhm.
something she should want.
Yeah.
And when she asked, she said, "My mom told me that you were a bad man." Did I already say this? Okay,
Yeah.
so that thing I thought was pretty eye-opening too, because he didn't say, "What did she say?" He said,
Mhm.
"How do you know?" And she told him how she knew, because he was kind and he took care of them and he let them have a voice. And I'm just so proud of my son for taking the high road and not trying to be the way she's being.
Yeah. And what about the older grandchildren? How do you see it impacting them?
Well, it's hard for them too
Mhm.
because they lost their mom.
Yeah.
She passed away a few years ago, and they don't have anybody else. There's nobody left for them. So they have their dad, who they've been with forever, and they have us, our family, and but they're missing Lily and Declan because they don't get very much time at all. So when they do, they try to make the most of it, and Kai will create videos and they have fun just being kids and having
Mhm.
fun and bonding together. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. So, do you have any opportunity to interact with the two younger ones or outside of Adam's parenting time? Or are you completely cut off once they're gone?
No, once they're gone, they're gone. I don't have any time, and except I did get that one day with Lily
Mhm.
for her birthday, and I was really thankful for that because I really thought she wasn't gonna let her stay the night, but she did. So, and my daughter helped me with that, like communicating it in a way that was not threatening. Not that
Mhm.
I would be threatening, but I'm
Right.
just saying it was just in a very good way to communicate that. And so we were able to have her for that
Mm.
night. And we'll do the same for Declan when it's his turn. So we do try to do all our grandkids that are local here. And then when we have our other grandchildren who come from out of state, then we'll make that time for them as well.
So let's talk a little bit about what's happening next for him. Do you have any update on what his plans are or what he plans on doing to try to get through this devastation?
You mean my son?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he met a man who went through this too. It was a horrible situation for him as well, and he advocates now for parents, mostly men, who are alienated from their kids, and he's gotten a group of attorneys that are familiar with this. And so my son was saying that he thinks things are going to change soon in that area because there's people out there that are aware of what's happening, and they've been through it themselves, so they ended up being able to, advocate for people in that situation as well because they've been through it.
Great.
So we're praying about that too, that they would, be able to have present it to the court in a way that
Mhm.
they can understand what's happening and advocate for the children.
Do you have any plans to see the grandkids again? I know that his time is at her mercy.
Yeah, it is, but he's going to be here this evening cuz he's bringing the kids back from West Virginia, but it's just an overnight, and then he has to
Mhm.
have them back tomorrow morning, and then they leave to go back to West Virginia because my grandson there has a job the next day, and
Mhm.
there's different things they don't have a lot of time. So I'll get to see him for a few hours, but I'm thankful
Right.
to see that, and I'll take whatever I can get.
Course. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to share as a grandparent who's going through this, as a mother who witnesses your son and all the loss he's endured? I mean, he seems like such an amazing guy, and he's so, I mean, he sent me that video clip or his audio clip of
Mhm.
Declan, and his response was just so appropriate. He doesn't retaliate. He's just so
Exactly.
calm
I'm
about
so
it.
proud of him. I'm so proud of him. And I told him, I said, "You're taking the high road." And I'm just praying that the Lord blesses him for that and
Yeah.
something good will come from it for the sake of the children because
Yeah.
they don't have the ability to do anything about it, but other people do in the sense they can advocate for them and say, there's got to be a way that they
Mhm.
can think of the children and not just the parents. But
Yeah.
he's been amazing, and he takes advantage of every minute he gets with
Mhm.
those kids. He cooks for them, he cooks from scratch, he cooks healthy, and he makes sure he knows what they're the things they're doing or the opportunities that they have. I mean, they hunt
Mhm.
mushrooms. Our grandson Killian out there, he's like a walking mushroom dictionary. He can tell you which ones are edible, which ones aren't, how to clean them and prepare them, and what seasonings and all that. I mean, I'm just thankful that he's in the place that he is because it's a good community. They have a
Mhm.
really good support system. They all work together. They go and find herbs and stuff, make their own salves and different things. It's quite amazing, the community that they have out there.
I
So
love it.
I'm really thankful.
Great. Eileen, I thank you for being a guest, and I'm sorry for the heartbreak that you and your family are going through. As a grandparent, it's got to be just heartbreaking, and
It
and
is.
I know that he's been through so much, and I hope the best for him.
Well, thank you so much for what you do to get the word
Course.
out. I really, really appreciate it.
Great, absolutely, and thank you for being a guest on the Fractured Families podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fractured Families podcast. I hope our conversation has provided you with support, understanding, and actionable insights to help you navigate your own family challenges. Remember, healing is a journey, and reaching out for help is a sign of strength. You're not alone in it. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more families in need. You can contact me on social media at Parental Alienation is Real and visit our website for additional resources and ways to get involved. Stay strong, stay connected, and keep fighting for the family bonds that matter most. Until next time, take care and stay resilient.